Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to join you from the village of Hudson, which is about 50 kilometers west of the city of Montreal in Quebec, Canada. I'm delighted to participate in this year's celebration of the International Day for Universal Access to Information. I'm honored to be part of this distinguished panel. A few months ago, I was asked by UNESCO to write guidelines to provide information commissioners with practical advice on how to use the Universal Periodic Review process to promote the right to access public information. The project generated at its onset a few questions which informed my thinking, and I thought I would share those with you today. First, is access to public information a human right? Second, how can information commissioners advance the right to access public information using the UPR process? To my knowledge, no information commissioner has ever gotten involved into this process. Third, what results could be achieved by the information commissioner's involvement? Fourth, could the UPR process be improved in the fourth cycle to facilitate the participation of information commissioners and thereby accelerate the development of the right to access public information? I will briefly address each question, but firstly, I must make a point of clarification on the term information commissioners. There are many types of oversight bodies in the field of access to public information. There are ombudspersons, multi-persons commissions, boards, councils, adjudicative bodies, and many other permutations. For simplicity's sake, in this presentation, I will refer to all of these as information commissioners. So on to the first question. Is access to public information a human right? This is actually more controversial than it seems. What we do know is that the existence of a right to access public information is increasingly recognized around the world, both domestically and internationally. There are currently around 130 laws protecting access to public information. The right is often included in international human rights documents, mostly, but not exclusively, in the context of the right to freedom of expression. Most importantly, in my opinion, the right to access public information means the right to life, the right to earn a living, the right to live in a society governed by the rule of law, the right to live in a society free of corruption, the right to know how algorithms are constructed and used against the population, the right to know the data that is being collected about oneself, the right to live in a just society, and the right to hold our governments to account. Throughout my career as information commissioner, people have told me that these statements are too bold or too extreme. I disagree. In my own country, Canada, the right to access public information means, for instance, that we have the right to access information about how many Indigenous communities continue to lack access to drinking water. In India, it means that villagers can find out whether the builders of their children's schools use the materials for which they received payment to build the school, ensuring that the building is sound and that their children are safe. On a global scale, access to public information is essential to our ability to address climate change, health crises, global corruption, cross-border data sharing, and widespread disinformation campaigns. The right to access public information rests at the core of our ability as nations to achieve our agenda for sustainable development. SDG 16 and Target 16.10, which aims to ensure public access to information, is only one of the 17 goals, but it is essential to the achievement of all goals. As such, the right to access public information has been the subject of over 150 recommendations in the UPR process since 2006. On to the second question. How can information commissioners advance the right to access public information through the UPR process? To answer this question, we have to separate the jurisdictions where there are information commissioners and presumably a law on access to public information, and jurisdictions where there are no access to information law or no information commissioner. In jurisdictions where there are no information commissioners, the input into the UPR process must be done and can only be done by way of international or regional networks of commissioners. The International Conference of Information Commissioners or the Red de Transparencia y Acceso a la Información in Latin America could, for instance, do the following. They could identify the member states that do not have an access law or a mechanism for its effective implementation, and they could provide a joint submission to be included in the summary of stakeholders' reports for the member states identified. In jurisdictions where there is an information commissioner, we can assume some form of legislative or regulatory framework for access to public information. In this situation, information commissioners could consider the following options. They could provide a written submission to be included in the member state's national report, although there they would have to be careful to do it in such a way as to preserve their independence from the government, possibly through a public submission. They could also consider providing a written submission to be included in the summary of stakeholders' report. And in addition, a regional or an international network of commissioners could endorse the submission of its member and provide a joint submission to support the development of the right to information in that jurisdiction. Third question. What results could be achieved by the information commissioner's involvement? In the 60 or so jurisdictions where there is no access to information law or no commissioner, the involvement of the international and the regional networks of information commissioners could be significant in advancing the right to know. This would greatly assist in the achievement of SDG 1610-2, which measures the number of countries that adopt and implement constitutional, statutory, or policy guarantees for public access to information. In other jurisdictions where there exists an access to information legislation, the submissions of the information commissioners would be able to address the issues recently highlighted by the pandemic, the collection of data and the transparency surrounding their use, counter widespread disinformation with access to documents, develop public registers of data and information related to health, to climate change, and marginalized populations, and advocate for any emerging transparency-related issue. Fourth question. Could the UPR process be improved in the fourth cycle to facilitate the participation of information commissioners? As the UPR process currently works, information commissioners do not have a distinct voice in the process. Their submissions, whether individual or joint, are likely to be amalgamated with the other stakeholders. This may mean less incentives for information commissioners to engage in the process and may make their submissions less impactful. A specific recognition for information commissioners and their network on matters of access to information, similar to the recognition afforded to human rights councils, may address this issue and increase the profile of access to information rights in the UPR process. The UPR, as a binding mechanism for its member states, provides a unique opportunity to advance the right of access to public information, thereby accelerating the achievement of the sustainable goals. Given the opportunity, information commissioners can provide a unique, a credible, and an expert voice in the process. In closing, I would like to thank colleagues in Mexico, Canada, Quebec, Scotland, Chile, the UK, Sri Lanka, South Africa, the USA, Albania, Kenya, and Bermuda, who have given their time to provide insights into the guidelines, and I thank UNESCO for advancing this important work. I also take this opportunity on the International Day for Access to Information to salute and thank all of the dedicated people around the world who work tirelessly to advance the right to access public information. Thank you.